Hi, today's video is going to be one about emotional avoidance. I've done other videos about emotional avoidance in the past, and I've gotten inspired here early in the morning today, the Friday of the new moon, October 16th, 2020. I've gotten inspired to do a series of videos about emotional avoidance because in my healing practice, it has become more and more apparent that emotional avoidance is at the key of everything, at least that I can help somebody shift. Um, when we develop a kind of theory, it's easy to see this one thing that we're focusing on as the key to everything. So I realize there are other keys, but I'm going to be focusing on emotional avoidance. And today's video is going to be about the way that emotional avoidance shapes your overall energy, your possibilities for manifestation, and your limitations in terms of basically enjoying your life. So I'm a healer, energy healer, and I do past life regression hypnotherapy in Los Angeles. You can find out more about me if you go to andysway.com. And you can email me at andysway@yahoo.com, ANDYSWAY. Anyway, so here's the deal. What I'm seeing more and more in my clients, in myself, in the world around me, is the extreme cost of emotional avoidance. So my point today in this video is that I want you to imagine emotional avoidance as almost like a fingerprint that people have. It's like a configuration that you live within. And so it literally is a boundary around your life force. Okay, so let's take any emotion that you want to think about. I mean, the primary one, the primary negative emotion would be fear. So, to the degree that you are avoiding feeling fear, now, I'm not talking about taking normal precautions in your life. I'm not talking about doing things to make you safe. I am talking about avoiding the emotion of fear. First of all, what's wrong with feeling fear when it shows up? Think about that. What's wrong with that, right? Fear shows up, and then you don't want to feel it, so you do some other thing. Now, what did that do to the fear? Did it change it? Did it just suppress it for a later date? That's something to think about. But consider this. When you're walking down the street, you don't necessarily avoid looking at most things. You are able to see what's around, and that visual information that you receive is helpful in navigating around physical space, right? It's harder to navigate around physical space if you don't have eyesight. Now, emotions, think of it as eyesight for experiential space. So, in order to navigate experience, you need emotion. In order to be intuitive, you need emotion. So there's mental space, there's emotional space, there's physical. There are a lot of different spaces. Uh, but the thing is, if you said, well, I'm going to do something so I don't see the color red, I am blind to the color red, that would not help the way you navigate physical space. You might bump into things that are red. You might trip over things that are red. You might run red lights. Um, it wouldn't be helpful to not see red. Red is part of the environment, right? Same thing, fear is part of your inner experiential environment. Now, if you don't want to feel the fear, it would be better to get to the roots of the fear and realize that there is authentic fear. The lion is chasing you. It is appropriate to feel fear. It actually helps you run faster. Not that you're really getting away from a lion, but whatever. Fear produces adrenaline, which gives you extra energy to handle the situation. So to disable that would just be like disabling seeing the color red. Now, if you look at people, and especially a lot of times if you look at older people, it's literally like their faces and their bodies are a map of all the emotions that they are resisting, which means it ends up being all the emotions that they're actually stuck in for life. So, for example, people that are hunchbacked a lot of times, it comes from a tension that begins here, and the shoulders are related to the heart chakra, feeling brokenhearted, things like that. And for example, when you get criticized, you might do that. You try not to feel that heartbreak of being criticized, because the heart is about love, and it's about loving everybody and everybody loving you, and that's the way it should be. And so when it's not that way, there's a wound, there's a pain, there's a flinch, right? And to the degree that you avoid feeling that heartbreak, you end up holding on to it. You end up not processing it. So think of your emotional system as almost like a digestive system. Excuse me for the noise out there. There's going to be noise. I'm right in Hollywood, so that happens. Anyway, so then what happens is, for example, you're avoiding fear, and then you say, for example, roller coasters are scary, so I don't go on roller coasters. Fine, that's probably not going to impact your life that much. And you can say, I don't really like going somewhere where I haven't been before. I like to know what's up. I don't want to go to a new restaurant. I might not like it. I just go to the same restaurant every time. I don't want to go to a place where people don't know me, because then it's more out of control. I don't know what's going to happen. There's no predictability. And so what happens is that in order to not feel fear, you create a bunch of rules in your life. You create a bunch of patterns in order to not have that fear triggered. And again, that just means you get to hold on to the fear forever, until you do clear it. And it also means that the universe is going to be sending you things to kick that fear up into your awareness, not to mess with you, but to help you heal it. Because the universe, the oneness, wants you to join it. And I don't know if that's really a wanting on a human type of level, but there's just a general movement towards evolution. And so what happens is, if you're holding fear, you're holding that frequency because you're trying not to feel it. If you did feel it, you might actually process it. Just like when you eat food, your digestive system processes it. It takes part of it as nutrition, and it lets go of the rest in the toilet. Okay, and so that's what digestion is all about. Take the good, let go of the rest, right? So, for example, with your fear, if you digested it, you might receive a lesson. That would be the good thing. And then you might realize that, oh, now that I've got the lesson, I don't need the rest of this, and you let go of the pattern. And it just happens energetically. If you could just let go of the pattern, you would have already done it, right? It's not that easy. And the main reason it's not that easy is because you're resisting feeling an emotion. So, to the degree that you're resisting feeling fear, you limit your self-expression, for example. Maybe you would really like to sing. Maybe you were meant to be a singer, but it makes you fearful and nervous to sing in front of people. And so, because your emotional avoidance of fear is actually more important to you than your creative self-expression that comes through singing, you end up choosing the fear. You end up choosing to honor the fear actually more than the creative spark that you are here to share with the world. And that's a shame. And it means your life is going to suck more because your soul isn't expressing itself. Your fear is contracting everything. So I want you to imagine literally creating a certain, imagine in your aura that it should be an oval, for example, right? And the healthy aura would be this shiny white oval of light that would kind of go around your body. I'm not saying that's it. I can't see auras. And then I want you to imagine that oval, in certain areas, energy kind of sticks out of that oval in an awkward way. In other areas, the oval is dented in and it's pushing up on you, right? And so the oval is distorted. The aura is distorted. So as you move through life, everything on the outside is a reflection of what you're projecting out. Okay? Everything you manifest into your life comes from what you project out. So now you're projecting distortion. And what you receive back is distortion. But it's a distortion that, in a kind of genius way that the universe, that the mystery works in, it's a distortion that, if used properly, and that's what I help my clients do, could actually bang out that dent and restore that part of the oval, that part of the aura, to its natural shape. So every emotion you avoid distorts your field, and every distortion of your field distorts your outer manifestation and your inner subjective experience of life. So what happens is you end up creating inauthentic things on the outside. You end up, for example, being in relationships with people who don't get you, who don't even appreciate you. You end up getting in interactions with people that might hate you, that you drive them crazy, okay, you might end up not being in a lot of interactions because you're stuck at home avoiding the feelings you would feel if you left the house. Okay. So what happens is because we avoid emotions, we distort our aura, we distort our energy field, we distort our subjective inner experience, and we distort our outer manifestation. And then what happens is we have a choice to either get more authentic with it and to actually meet these outer manifestations and deal with them with our emotions, not just with our brains. We all know how to do that, most of us at least. And process the emotions that get kicked up through these events. So anything that happens to you is a chance for you to release emotional avoidance around the area where the emotion is kicked up. So hear that again. Anything that ever happens to you that, and not that I'm saying it the same way, anything that ever happens to you that creates an emotional disturbance is an opportunity to stop avoiding the emotion that got kicked up in that experience. And if you stop avoiding it, if you go through some of my other videos about emotional avoidance, emotional processing, emotional digestion, there's going to be a lot more coming. If you meet those events in the world and you allow those events to be allies in your own personal transformation, you allow the emotions in, then what happens is you get to a place where you're not resisting that emotion. And so balance, the natural order is restored in your system in that one spot. I'm sure there are many more to handle. And then your outer manifestation doesn't have to be all messed up to trigger that, because there's nothing to trigger, because nothing needs to be cleared. Now, when you're in this process, realize just because you handled one episode of fear and you didn't resist the fear and you processed it, it doesn't mean that you will be fearless for the rest of your life. It doesn't mean that nothing will ever happen in your outer world to generate fear. What it means is, because fear is a huge meta issue, and there are going to be millions of different levels of fear, little pockets. So just remember, as a final thing, when we say a word like fear, when we say a word like happiness, whatever, that's a word that does not convey the reality of what we're talking about. There is, for example, fear of making a fool of yourself. And then there's fear of the lion that's chasing you. There's fear of public ridicule. There's fear of heights. There are all kinds of fears, but we just say fear, right? So energetically, all those different fears might be kind of a different energy signature. They might be impacting a different area of that bubble that I was talking about, that oval, that aura. So resist the temptation to get stuck in the labels, in the words, and stay with the emotion. So to reiterate, emotional avoidance is at the key of every issue that keeps you stuck, that keeps you from moving forward, that keeps you from coming from your core authenticity and putting that authenticity out into the world creatively, and therefore manifesting joy, abundance, and all the good shit. So, to the degree that you stop avoiding your emotions and process them instead, you free up this energy, you clear this distortion in your inner world and your outer world, and you come to a place where you can manifest with authenticity. And it's important to do this around not only every emotion, but every level of emotion. And if you need help doing that, you can text me at 212-505-7729. You can email me at andysway@yahoo.com. And otherwise, just keep feeling those emotions and let them happen within you. Check out my other videos about emotion because they all kind of work together. And good luck starting the process of really intentionally meeting your emotions rather than being in a state of emotional avoidance, which causes negative manifestation. Thanks so much for watching.